The U.S. southern border has deteriorated from an improving situation under President Donald J. Trump to an absolute, out-of-control disaster under Beijing Biden. We've seen record-breaking numbers of apprehensions, which of course means total crossings are record-breaking as well under the current collection of wealthy children actually running this country. As our lovely White House has disregarded enforcement and focused on made-up controversies instead of protecting the damn country. Yet, even as this administration remains so maliciously inept, things are actually set to change. Now, believe it or not, our Drooler-in-Chief is actually set to bend the knee to Trump, reinstating the highly successful Remain in Mexico policy, which saw the border stabilize under the last and/or real president. This from Axios. Quote, President Biden will start turning asylum seekers back to Mexico as soon as next week under a reinstated Trump-era, quote, Remain in Mexico program, but will offer them the option to receive the COVID-19 vaccine, Axios has learned, unquote. We'll dive into the details right after this quick commercial break to pay some bills. And if you could, folks, please don't forget to tap that like button. Rebuilding this channel from scratch is proving hard enough. I could really use the extra support, and that goes for whatever platform you're watching on. Friends, I'm going to point out the obvious. It seems like big government and big tech are trying to destroy America. Everything they touch turns into a disaster. Pretty soon the whole system will fall apart, and the first thing to fall will be the food supply chain. So, do you have enough emergency food to get through a serious long-term crisis where you can't get food at the grocery store? Most people don't, and they'll panic when the time comes. That is why the smart move now is to get long-term storage emergency food before things go bad. I highly recommend My Patriot Supply. They've served millions of American families and have over 41,000 4-star and 5-star reviews. Their mission is your survival. And right now, you can save 25% on a 4-week kit of emergency food that will save the day, probably soon. Order a starter kit for each member of your family, and they'll ship everything quickly and discreetly to your door. Go to preparewithresurgence.com so you can claim your 4-week emergency food kit and save 25% in the process. That's preparewithresurgence.com, or hit that link in the description box. Okay, so there are a few catches involved, as with all things to do with this cluster of an administration. For one, this wouldn't even be happening without a court order that the administration vehemently fought. Yet I suspect this is one loss the White House welcomes. They can pretend they don't actually want to reinstate the policy while reaping the benefits of it. As Democrats just love to do, expect a lot of playing both sides, with Biden claiming on one hand that his hands are tied, while at the same time taking credit for the border situation when it actually improves. But let's not forget the issue of Mexico. You see, Trump had garnered the original Remain in Mexico deal by forming good relations. Those have largely been destroyed by these morons. You see, Tapioca Boy Biden's actions, or lack thereof, and Willie Brown's ex-side piece Kamala's ridiculous blame shifting didn't go over so well down south in cartel land. Again, thanks, California. Contrary to what some may believe on the left, Mexico's leadership doesn't actually like their country being an illegal immigration superhighway from Central America. For some strange reason, they see Biden's policies as incentivizing migrants to make the journey, because Biden's policies incentivize migrants to make the journey. So the question becomes whether the Mexicans even want to help us out at this point. Every day is an IQ test when you're a Democrat. Honestly, I have my doubts, and if they don't, this would represent the perfect excuse for dipshit to throw his hands up and tell the country, well, I tried, folks. Our Drooler-in-Chief could also face major pushback within his own party, as many batshit Democrats see the policy as a humanitarian concern. The ingenious idea seems to be that it's dangerous for asylum seekers to stay in Mexico until it can be adjudicated that their claims have merit. But really, let's ask ourselves, is it safer to stuff them in cages and then release them into high-crime areas of the United States cities with nothing but the clothes on their backs and possibly a meal ticket? Again, I find the protestations of the left completely unconvincing, and of course, as always, nonsensical. The fact is that the asylum system is broken, and not in the way liberals proclaim. It's broken because it provides an incentive for economic migrants to fraudulently claim they are under threat while gaining entry into the United States interior. And of course, that then perpetuates the cycle as more and more people see it as a loophole to exploit. The current collection of morons, which we choose to call an administration, is just fine with that status quo, though. They don't care that it enriches the drug cartels and leads to murders, sex trafficking, and other horrific acts. You see, everything is political for Tapioca Boy and his cohorts. The real lives being affected be damned.
We've been saying for months that our southern border is out of control, that it's completely open. Just in case you think we've been overstating that, here's this. More than 13,000 Haitians have now crossed into Del Rio, Texas. Our own Bill Malugin has been on this story like nobody else. He was there on Saturday. Here's part of what he saw.
What you're looking at right now is the U.S. side of the Rio Grande. That is a mass of several hundred illegal immigrants who have just crossed the Rio Grande, and look at this, several hundred more streaming across as we speak. We're on a boat in the Rio Grande. This is the Mexican side of the river right now. You can see it's a never-ending stream, hundreds of people crossing the Rio Grande basically every hour, and they're heading over to the International Bridge, which you can see in the background. Look at that mass of people. This is why the situation under the bridge continues to deteriorate. This is insane. The federal government has to wake up.
So a lot of questions here. Where do these Haitians come from? How'd they get here? How'd they afford it? But most pressing of all for Americans is, where are all these Haitians going? U.S. Border Patrol Chief Raul Ortiz just told Malugin that of the 12,000 migrants under the bridge in Del Rio, only adult men will be deported. Yeah, right. The rest will be processed and released into what you thought was your country, but turns out isn't. Today, Fox News' Peter Doocy asked the White House what our border czar thinks about all of this.
Where's the vice president on any of this? Isn't she supposed to be addressing the root causes of migration?
Absolutely, and she has been addressing the root causes of migration by working with countries in the region to ensure they have the assistance they need to reduce the number of people who are coming and trying to make those journeys across the border. We've actually seen some reductions in some of those numbers. That doesn't change the fact that this is a very challenging situation in Del Rio. We're working to implement our policies, and we're working to ensure we are also addressing root causes.
So why does our guy have to wear the obedience mask and that woman doesn't? So many questions.
Well, that's about it for that one. I hope everybody out there has a wonderful Thanksgiving. Some of this came by way of Reinstate.com. If you liked it, hit that like button. Subscribe if you haven't. Leave a comment down below. There's a PayPal link in the description box, so please put $1 in the bucket on the way out the door. I'd like to thank everyone for all your donations. They're much needed and much appreciated. Now, with all that being said, we'll see you next time.
Come on, move. Move. Easy, easy.